Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Today is 17th of May. Now it's 3 p.m. Moscow time, middle of the day, and this is a traditional big Sunday community chatter. Little bit different program compared to typical news updates. Although I have prepared, of course, for your news segment with all the major news that are making headlines here in Russia, and I will get to those news in a minute. Although because this is a community chat, and also I put up in headline fundraising too. This week was extremely weak in terms of income for this project, in terms of support that I get, and well, I don't know. Will be great if this live stream will work as a fundraising tool. Uh, usually goal is $200, but for these fundraisings for the next week, but we only 3 times managed to reach this goal in more than half a year now, I guess. Maybe today we will do good on that. And dear friends, good beginning of this live stream fundraising too, because literally few minutes ago there was a donation through PayPal to the project, and let me highlight that donation, if I may. Donation is from Hungary through PayPal, 10 euros. Thank you very much, Yeva, and your family members for this donation and their assistance. There is a comment. There is a comment also on PayPal, which says my wife, and that I guess this comment was written by husband of Eva. So thank you both. So my wife likes if it when you call their world leaders dirty prostitutes. Thank you for all the hard work in regular reporting the daily news. I hope you can continue this project. We wish the best to you and your family. Thank you very much for your kind words, sir. Thank you very much for your support and this particular donation, you and your husband. Well, I'll try to make programs with a family-friendly language. My wife was very critical of me whenever I go off, whenever I become too emotional, and then too much of a French comes in. So past week I was quite good, really, on this promise to my wife that I'm gonna be like chill, right? Not gonna use too much of a French, and I will try to continue same way. I guess I scared off quite a number of members of our community with my language in past several months, but well, times every now and then times are quite depressive, by the way, and it does influence it. So although when you are in this business of news and political commentary, of course, you have to control yourself better, and I try for sure. So thank you very much. Nevertheless, you see, there are members of our community that actually don't mind if every now and then I go off and use some French. But anyways, thank you very much once again, Yara, and your husband, your family, for your attention and support. Have a wonderful Sunday, wonderful day. Thank you. And dear friends, let's continue now with the news. There was on Friday, there was also donation from NSPK, although that question from NSPK that I missed on Friday is related to topics that I'm going to discuss today. So therefore, I will react on that question that many of you probably have too during the news segment itself, because as I said, it's related. And count on fundraising is open. We received 10 euros. So let's see how we will do. Anna is telling me that there was a on Boosty donation right now. And so, dear friends, there was a donation on Boosty from Alexander G. And if I may, let me highlight this too. And then we will go through some news, and then after the news segment, let's have a good community chat, dear friends. Let's talk about any topic, really. You can send your question in a super chat on Rumble, and you know I'm streaming on YouTube and Rumble simultaneously. You can use super chat feature on Rumble to not just send a question but donate. You can of course buy these premium subscription gifts on Rumble, which is basically a $5 donation each time you buy that gift, or give it, and then you can give it to anyone you want, of course, on a Rumble platform. And you can send your question or the commentary through Boosty and their PayPal. And right now there was a donation through Boosty from Alexander G. Thank you very much, Alexander, for your donation on a Boosty and your support, your attention. And Alexander G is commenting, the explosion in Israel yesterday looks like an accident or sabotage, definitely not a scheduled test. I will get to this topic, Alexander G. There is numerous speculations, of course, you know about it. What could that be? And I have my take on that, and I will share this my take on it when I will get to this Middle Eastern developments and also Israeli topic. It was a massive explosion. In case many members of our community don't know, not far away from Jerusalem, I believe, there was a military enterprise, and explosion happened, massive one, and Israeli side is saying it was a test of some sort, but no one is believing in that, because usually if there is a test or intentional explosion, detonation of some materials, people are warned. And this time around, there was no warnings. So that's why no one is buying that agenda of some scheduled testing and scheduled detonation of some stuff. But I will get to that point in a minute. Thank you very much once again, Alexander G, for your donation. This is a 687 rubles, which is a $10 donation, basically, to this project. So we have $10 and 10 euros already in terms of fundraising. Thank you very much. And let's go through some news now. Let's go through some news. And whenever there will be donations and or super chats, of course, Anna will drop screenshots to me and I will highlight that. And I want to start with the largest drone attack, according to many sources, on the Russian Federation since the beginning of special military operation. And I'm gonna give you this update, for example, from RIA Novosti, which is based on Defense Ministry's update, that past night alone, air defense forces on duty intercepted 556 drones over the Belgorod, Kaluga, Kursk, Oryol, Bryansk, Voronezh, Tula, Smolensk, Pskov, Lipetsk, Tver, and Rostov regions. Furthermore, air defense forces destroyed drones over the Krasnodar territory, Moscow region, Republic of Crimea, and Black Sea and Sea of Azov. And this massive attack, massive long-range attack on Russian Federation continues throughout the day. In 2 hours alone, for example, from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., according to reports, another 30 drones were intercepted over the Kaluga, Bryansk, Smolensk, and Pskov regions, over the Moscow region, Krasnodar territory, Republic of Crimea, and Sea of Azov. And since then, probably even more, couple of dozens, at least couple of dozens of more drones were intercepted. Later on, Russian Defense Ministry probably will share with the public update on these developments. One of the main targets this time around of these long-range attacks on the Russian Federation, orchestrated, of course, by NATO member states, first and foremost by US and UK. One of the main targets was Moscow, capital of Russian Federation, and we have reported that in past 24 hours, 120 drones were intercepted by air defense forces in Moscow region. No reports, at least in Russian media, about any drones managing to bypass air defenses and striking in the vicinity of a city itself. But here, dear friends, we have to keep in mind that a few days ago, government of Moscow come up with a ban on sharing any information, online or otherwise, about drone attacks on Moscow, consequences of drone attacks on Moscow or aerial attacks on Moscow, and also about any attacks by enemy sabotage units or the terrorist activity of the hostile side. And therefore, even if some drones manage to bypass air defenses and reach Moscow, I don't think Russian media will be able to report about it. So let's keep that in mind. I know number of sources out there on the internet are sharing information that Kiev regime launched 180 to 200 drones at least towards the Moscow, and if 120 were intercepted, then where these another 60 to 80 drones are? I mean, what happened to those drones, right? But nevertheless, all I can say as of now is that according to TASS news agency's report, based on defense minister's update, in past 24 hours, 120 drones were intercepted on their approach to Moscow. Unfortunately, there was casualties in the Moscow region as a result of these large-scale attacks on Russia, including on Russian capitals, and vast majority of drones are, of course, are intercepted on their approach to Moscow, in the Moscow region. And well, as a result of past night attacks, 3 civilians were killed as a result of these drone attacks. 3 people were killed in a drone strike on Khimki and Mytishi in the Moscow region. Governor Andrei Vorobyov reported, and Khimki, by the way, and Mytishi is formally it's Moscow region, of course, but if you are moving from Moscow city to Khimki, you would not notice the border there. There is no fields between the cities, no nothing. It's like city continues, right? And at some point, it's becoming Khimki. There is no such a thing as 2 cities being far away from each other, right? No, this, and same goes for Mytishi. These are basically just formally Moscow region, but they are right next to Moscow. So drones did reach very close to capital territory itself, and unfortunately there was a tragedy. 3 people were killed in Khimki. There are reports that overall 2,000 and more civilians. There is different reports, but at least 2,000 civilians were injured as a result of past night drone attacks. And as I said, drone assault continues, and later on today, probably Defense Ministry, Emergency Services will share additional or finalized information about this matter. Massive attack on the Russian Federation. For example, and as I said, the probably biggest one since the beginning of the special military operation. TASS news agency also reports that Russian air defense forces shut down 1,054 Ukrainian drones and Flamingo and Neptune MD missiles. This is just the past 24 hours. So over the past 24 hours, Russian air defense systems shut down Flamingo and Neptune MD long-range missiles, as well as 1,054 Ukrainian drones. The Russian Defense Ministry reported this information was published at 12:18. Right, 12:08. This like 3 hours ago, and then updated at 12:18. Since then, probably more drones were intercepted by Russian forces, possibly more, also more missiles. Record numbers there for sure. Air defense systems shut down 8 guided aerial bombs, US-made HIMARS, multiple launch rocket systems, missiles, Flamingo long-range cruise missile, Neptune MD long-range guided missile, and as I said, 1,054 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. And well, what we can say about the whole situation, dear friends. Veterans of our community at least know perfectly well that I was saying for a very long time that something has to be done to restore deterrent, especially in regards to Western countries, in regards to NATO member states, that clearly feel like there is no deterrent right now in existence on Russia's behalf, right? And they can do whatever they want to harm Russia, to kill Russians, and Moscow will do nothing about it. That's the attitude of the Western elites for a very long time now. For a very long time, you will agree with me, I think. And I was saying for a long time, we have to do something about it. We have to restore deterrent, even if that means retaliatory strikes on NATO member states' territories. And we have to do this. Otherwise, even if we have to do this, even if that will trigger tit-for-tat exchange for a certain time, but eventually Western ruling class will be forced to back down, right? And this will allow us to avoid even a bigger confrontation between these NATO member states and the Russian Federation, and that will save more lives, right? You see the logic there? If we did not restore deterrent, unfortunately, we're going to end up even in a bigger conflict eventually, which will cause more death and destruction. Deterrent is absolutely necessary to be restored. But for whatever reasons, Russian leadership prioritized the restraint policy. Nothing was done in terms of retaliation on NATO member states. Literally nothing, not a single strike on any of the NATO member states that are directly engaged in this war against Russian Federation. And now we are in a situation that when more than a dozen NATO member states are producing 24/7 these long-range drones and also assisting the regime in the production of long-range missiles, right, that are then used against Russian Federation. And I was saying, by the way, if we did not do nothing now, I was saying it long time ago, then we will find ourselves in a situation when Western economies, Western manufacturing plants, enough of them would be transformed to produce drones and missiles, right, that then are used against Russia. And at some point, Russian air defense systems might get just overwhelmed with the sheer number of incoming aerial targets. And I'm afraid we already are in that situation. We are no longer approaching that point. We are at that point because 1,000+ drones and missiles being launched in a single 24-hour time period. That's quite a massive. That's quite a big number. And I'm afraid this trajectory will continue, trajectory on rise of aerial targets that are launched to strike deep into Russia, because dozens of countries, as I said, and dozens of manufacturing plants in European NATO member states, for example, 24/7 are producing these long-range strike weapons that then are used against Russia. So therefore, I don't know what can I say, man. You might ask her how things gonna develop from now on, and it is obvious. More and more drones, more and more missiles will be launched to strike deep into Russian territory, and this will continue until Moscow will finally greenlight Russian militaries and Russian security services to take retaliatory strikes on NATO member states that are directly engaged in this war against Russia, and to eliminate manufacturing plants, intelligence means of those NATO member states, if necessary, military means of those NATO member states that are actively used and deployed against Russia. When we retaliate, then things might change. Until then, unfortunately, situation will only deteriorate for Russia. That's how it is. And if in past 24 hours, 1,000+ drones and missiles were intercepted, in a month from now, 2 months from now, this number could be 2,000+ or higher. Who knows, right? So something definitely has to be done, and there is a probability. There is a probability that maybe Moscow is actually considering to strike back on NATO member states, to greenlight Russian militaries and their security services to do so, to restore deterrent. That is absolutely necessary, right? And on this matter, dear friends, talks become at least in alternative media, on internet, talks about possibility of Russian retaliatory strike become very active, even though I was talking about necessity of that a very long time. But many people began talking about it these days, in just past couple of days, maybe a week also, right? You all notice, isn't it, dear friends, how everybody start talking about it, Russian retaliation on NATO member states. When I was talking about it, I don't know, since forever. But anyways, whenever there was a strikes on Leningrad region of the Russian Federation, I was always saying from the very beginning that there is no way Kiev regimes / NATO drones are reaching Leningrad region through Russian territory. I refuse to believe in that, and therefore I was saying that it's just logical to assume that these drones are either launched from territory of Baltic states, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Finland, or these countries are providing airspace for these attacks. And lately, past several weeks, we have factual evidences that are confirming my original take, that yes, indeed, these countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, are directly engaged in attacks on Russian Federation. They are providing airspace and most likely ground too for these attacks, because almost on weekly basis, whenever Leningrad region is attacked, by the way, drones are failing down due to some critical malfunction of the drones, or for whatever reason, drones regularly failing on the territory of these entities, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and Finland, right? And I was reporting about this stuff on numerous occasions. And remember, a couple of weeks ago, when there was a massive wave of attacks on Russian Leningrad region, almost Lugar, portal infrastructure, on some other areas, I said that probably something has to be done about it, right? And at that time, not because I was predicting that probably Moscow will finally react, but it so happened that Moscow actually reacted, and first Defense Ministry made a public list of European NATO member states that are directly engaged in attacks on Russian Federation, and also enterprises. Formally, some of them are actually Ukrainian enterprises, and those NATO member states give their Kiev regime, them land or their capabilities to produce their drones, right? And then use, and not just drones, but some components for the missiles too. In some cases, missile fuel even, and then use it against Russian Federation. Such a decision make those countries all over Europe to be complicit in these attacks on Russia, right? Straight away, there is no explanation needed. When you are giving their territory or the manufacturing plant to the country that is engaged in the war, and then when that country produces weapons and uses those weapons in the war, you become involved in this war, right? 100%. And so Russian Defense Ministry shared this information of dozens of countries, dozens of enterprises, even addresses were shared of location of these enterprises that are involved in drone production of all sorts of components for long-range weapons. Then Dmitry Medvedev, former president of Russian Federation, deputy chairman of the Security Council, stated that this list shared by Defense Ministry should be taken as literally taken as a list of targets, right? Legit targets for Russia. And then current Secretary of the Security Council, Shoigu, spoke about the matter, and he remembered the UN 51st chapter, which is about self-defense. And he hinted basically that Russia might actually take some action in self-defense in terms of that 51st chapter, right? It's a chapter, isn't it? Or whatever. And since then, expectations actually went higher. Then Moscow actually greenlights Russian militaries and security services to strike back on these NATO territories, and chaos began, little by little, step by step. Even though Western elites love to say how much they don't care about any statements in Moscow, and how much they ignore Moscow and don't believe Moscow will do anything, they began panicking. I think they began panicking, and this is nowhere more relevant and visible than in the Baltic entities that I mentioned: Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And in Latvia, there is a political crisis. Government collapsed. Their defense minister resigned, and prime minister resigned because of the Ukrainian drones that struck one of the energy infrastructures literally a week ago, right? During yet another attack on Russia's Leningrad region, when Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and the Poland and the Finland provided the airspace for this created the air corridor for these drones. Also, Estonian leadership began making statements. Finnish leadership began making statements. Lithuanian leadership began making statements that, well, Kiev regime should avoid our airspace, and they try to play with the plausible deniability, that painting the picture that they were not involved, they did not knew about it, which is nonsense, right? These drones were flying like week after week after week, and you did not know. Come on, man. After all, not far away from the border with Russia, experts, by the way, I saw on Russian segment of internet, experts were monitoring the skies, right? And the radars are detecting that there was a restriction. There was a corridor created, aerial corridor, by all 3 NATO member states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Aerial corridor in which no plane was prohibited to enter. And this corridor was exactly the area which was used by Kiev regime and / NATO to strike on Russia, right? To move their drones. And this is the aerial corridor, where drones were falling down or not far away from there. So no matter how much or how harder these NATO member states gonna mess around with plausible deniability, Moscow, of course, knows what's up, right? Moscow knows perfectly well what is done, who is guilty, and if retaliation order is given, then retaliation will come, right? But this hysteria continues. If you think because in past week or two Russia did not retaliate, panic is no longer escalating in these NATO states. No, it's still the same. Maybe they are panicking even more, because I believe they have some intelligence knowledge that Russia is actually preparing ground for retaliatory strikes on NATO member states, including Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, possibly Finland. Finland has to be, of course, struck too, because Finland is providing airspace also, and all the other NATO member states. Man, I don't give a damn what these NATO states called. Lithuania, UK, Germany, France, whatever. They are engaged in a war against us. Let's strike back, right? On legit targets, on absolutely legit targets, and let's make sure that collateral damage, either they're going to be no collateral damage or as minimal as possible, right? That's my concern only, to make sure that there are no civilians in this, no civilians going to end up in trouble. That's all my concern. Legit targets, let's obliterate legit targets, by the way, right? And so on topic of this hysteria in the Baltic entities, I want to give you this information that Kiev does not warn, allegedly, authorities of Estonia and Latvia about the possible flights of drones in the airspace of these countries. I mean, really, are we believing in this nonsense? I don't, for sure. Then quote here from Finnish media outlet, YLE. I'm in a message from the Estonian Air Force to YLE. It is stated that Ukrainian drones not give NATO countries advance warning about their possible approach of drones to their alliance's airspace. Finnish broadcaster reported. Also, this broadcaster clarifies the Latvian authorities also did not receive warnings. Since the end of March, Finnish authorities have repeatedly reported their detection of drones. In Finland, earlier Estonian Defense Minister Pevkur stated that Tallinn expects Kiev to exercise strict control over its drones. What that even means? What that even means? To make sure that drones going to function properly and not going to fail on territory of these countries. That's what that means, isn't it? I guess, because these countries or Estonian defense minister did not say that you should not never ever breach our airspace. No, they don't care. They don't care. They did not care, at least at the time. Now they might. Now they might when there is an expectation at least out there that Moscow is preparing retaliation. And hopefully this is true, because we have to restore deterrent, man, in order to avoid even bigger disaster, even bigger confrontation. We have to restore deterrent now, right? I know restoration of deterrent might cause some damage, some casualties, I know. But if we don't do it now, eventually we will end up in bigger disaster, which will take hundreds, maybe thousands of more lives, and will be absolutely devastating for many, many countries, right? So to avoid that, we have to do something today. We had to do something yesterday, day before yesterday, 3-4 years ago, actually, right? But unfortunately, we did not, and we end up in this situation now, right? If we act differently 4 years ago, I'm quite sure deterrent would stay in place. Neither UK, neither US will ever dare to orchestrate attacks on Russian nuclear triad. They will never dare to get engaged in this proxy war against Russian Federation in the ways that they did. But unfortunately, due to restraint policies of the Russian leadership, we end up in this situation now. And there was so many casualties, so much destruction that could be avoided, but it's too late now. In order to avoid even bigger disaster in the future, we have to act today. At least we have to act today and restore this freaking deterrence. Because it's not normal where nuclear superpower is treated as if it's a banana freaking republic. It's not normal. At some point, something gonna happen and the whole world is fucked, to put it mildly. My apologies for French. And on this very topic, RIA Novosti is reporting that another drone flew into Latvian airspace. In the Defense Ministry's update, there were no mentioning of Leningrad region being attacked. And when I saw this report that another drone was detected in Latvia, I mean, my reaction was that maybe information about attacks on Leningrad region is being suppressed by Russian authorities. Because only reason why Ukrainian drone will end up in Latvia is if a bunch of drones were launched again through this aerial corridor, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, possibly Finland, then to strike Russian territory, right? But as I said, Defense Ministry did not mention Leningrad region being targeted. Unknown drone entered Latvian airspace on Sunday morning, this morning, by the way. The LSM portal reported, citing data from Latvian National Air Armed Forces. According to portal's publication, the armed forces reported that an airspace threat was declared on Sunday morning in Rezekne, Kraslava, Ludna, Aluksne, and Balvi districts. So I wonder, was it really one drone or dozens of drones? The National Armed Forces confirmed to LSM that at least one drone entered and then left Latvian airspace. The portal's report says, how convenient, at least one drone. To what? To downgrade the involvement of Latvia in this yet another attack on the Russian Federation? One drone. And emergency was declared in 4 to 5 regions. Come on, man. You cannot be serious. And by the way, in order drone to end up in Latvian airspace, it has to cross Polish airspace from, let's say, drones are launched from Western Ukraine, right? From somewhere here. Those drones have to then cross into Polish airspace, then through Suwalki Gap, they're gonna enter Lithuania, and from Lithuania into Latvia, from Latvia to Estonia then, or they might try to cross border from Latvia to and enter Russia, but usually trajectory is from Latvia to Estonia and from Estonia to Leningrad region or towards St. Petersburg. There is a cases when drones are continuing moving north from Estonia, crossing Finnish Gulf, entering Finnish airspace, and then are targeting Russian Leningrad region from the northern side. That's their usual trajectory. So in order drones to end up in Latvia, those drones had to cross Polish and Lithuanian airspace. So it was an attack, I guess, of a number of drones towards Leningrad region again, and it was detected. Latvian officials acknowledged presence of drones, probably because it was filmed. Every time these authorities of these Baltic entities acknowledged presence of Ukrainian drones in their airspace is when either drones crashed or drones were filmed by the locals, and then these videos were shared on internet. So they had no option but to acknowledge that, yes, I mean, it's videos out there, right? What you're gonna say, but it's fake or what? It's easy to check. So probably there was an attack on Russian Leningrad region too past night, but for whatever reason, Russian Defense Ministry did not mention Leningrad region being attacked. Maybe to decrease pressure, let's say, on Moscow on a topic of retaliation strike, not to rush their developments, right? Because we should understand if Moscow is actually planning retaliation for all these criminal activities, terrorist activities against Russian Federation, all these acts of war that NATO member states committed, of course, these preparations will take time. It's going to be complex stuff, obviously. I cannot even imagine how complex it's going to be. I'm no military person, never claimed to be military expert. So therefore, of course, it's difficult to me to understand how many things have to be prepared for retaliation, right? It's not just like take a phone and tell some unit there that, launch 5 drones towards, I don't know, Latvia. No, it doesn't work that way, right? It has to be serious retaliation, I think, on such a scale and with such a force that even if it will trigger some tit for tat between European NATO member states and Russia, eventually European elites, globalist control regimes in Europe will have no option but to back down, right? And to achieve that, to force globalist and globalist control regimes to back down, we have to retaliate hard, man. We have to retaliate big, right? And of course, I can understand why, in order to minimize the pressure on Moscow, why would the authorities try to kind of suppress information about attacks on Leningrad region? Because, I mean, you tell me what Ukrainian drones were doing in Latvia if there was no attack from their territory on Russia. I don't think it was an exercising flight by Ukrainian drones, right? Anyways, situation is very serious, by the way. Situation is very serious, that's for sure. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that the Lithuanian president demanded that Ukrainian armed forces drones flying into their country be shut down. Too little, too late. I think too little, too late to act like that. Those drones should never be allowed in airspace of these countries. Aerial corridors should never be created, for sure. Now it's just too late. And yet again, if Russian President Vladimir Putin made the decision to restore deterrent, then orders probably are given, and there are no attempts on behalf of these Western politicians or the public figures now to mess around with the plausible deniability gonna save them. It's too late. They crossed too many red lines, and I think retaliation is coming, even inevitable, I think, right? Only question I have personally is scale. That's the only question I have personally. I don't want retaliation to take place only on these Baltic entities that are providing airspace, possibly ground for attacks on Russian Federation. I want Russian retaliation to strike on literally all NATO member states that are engaged in this war against Russian Federation. That includes UK, US, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, all of them. Every country that is engaged in these attacks against Russia have to be struck with such a force that the leadership of those countries will never ever dare to mess with Russia. That's what we have to do, right? Only exception. I mean, exception is not really the right word, but I don't know any other. English is not my first, not second, not even third language. So therefore, quite often I struggle to find right words. But I mean, only exception kind of can be US, right? We can harm US other ways, with some other ways, right? We can retaliate on US with some other ways, and I'm quite sure we did, partially at least, right? US lost quite a lot of military personnel, quite a lot of military assets in the Middle East, and my hope is that this was done by Iranians with our assistance. I really hope so, right? And I'm quite sure we play some role in that. And that's just the beginning of the retaliation on US. So we can deal with US with other means, right? After all, we are two major nuclear powerhouses, and maybe direct strikes on each other. I mean, open strikes on each other, not the way to go, for sure. But the European NATO member states, those men, those have to be taken out. I mean, legit targets, of course. We have to strike them. We have to put them in check. That's all I'm saying, by the way. No one should take my words as if I'm calling for nuclear strikes on Paris or London. No, man. No, man. God bless people of Paris and London. I have no issues with ordinary people anywhere, right? Neither in Paris, neither in Berlin, neither in London, neither in Jakarta, by the way, or Pretoria or whatever, right? Buenos Aires. That's where I am. But European NATO states that are run by criminals, actually, puppets of globalists, definitely have to be put in check, for sure, right? So no such game's gonna help them, man, with their plausible deniability stuff. And also Finland, I said, isn't it, that Finland is, of course, also one of the NATO member states that are directly, practically openly involved in this war. They are providing airspace for attacks on Russia, quite possibly ground also. And they are kind of scared too, I guess, in Helsinki. And probably that's why Finnish DD Geopolitics commented, shared information about it, that Finnish President Stubb allegedly said to Zelensky personally that these drones, Ukrainian drones in Finnish airspace, are unacceptable. And allegedly Zelensky apologized to him after Ukrainian drone came down in Finland recently. I reported about it, dear friends, you know. And what is interesting, about a month ago, if you remember, there was another incident, right? 2 or 3 drones, Ukrainian drones, crashed in Finland. And in the area where those drones crashed, Finnish military personnel was killed. Finnish military authorities stated that it was an accident during the exercises. Maybe it was an accident, or maybe there was some maneuvers actually of Finnish militaries. And it so happened that this freaking drone, Ukrainian/NATO drone, crashed exactly in the area where these Finnish troops were exercising, and one of their Finnish militaries were killed as a result of this situation. But Helsinki never pointed at Ukraine for that. But there could be connection there. Anyways, now Finnish president is saying that Zelensky, he demanded Ukrainian drones not to cross Finnish airspace, and Zelensky allegedly apologized. Yet another example of gameplay around the plausible deniability stuff. All they want to do, Finland, Finnish leadership, Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian leadership, all they are trying to do now is to distance themselves from these drone attacks on Russia. And they want to paint a picture that Ukrainian drones just happened that entered their airspace without their knowledge, right? They didn't knew nothing about it. Are we going to buy this stuff? No. And either way, as I said, man, if Putin authorized already retaliation, then no matter acting on behalf of this leadership of NATO countries, we will retaliate. And not just on the Baltic entities, or not just on legit targets in the Baltic entities. I always have to say legit targets, by the way, to make sure that everyone understands correctly. We will retaliate on legit targets, not just in the Baltic entities, but elsewhere too. For sure. And by the way, London is a British ruling class, let me say this way. British ruling class is, of course, leading the charge, right, in this proxy war against Russian Federation. And I think in order to, first and foremost, in order to minimize these drone attacks, long-range attacks on Russian Federation, we have to take out infrastructure that is used, right, to produce these drones. That infrastructure mainly is in Europe, so that's a legit target for you, including in UK. So we have to take that infrastructure out, and also, of course, British intelligence, British militaries. I would not say all militaries, but British special forces, SAS, and special boat service units clearly are legit target for Russian Federation. And if we strike on UK, probably these units will be targeted too, right? Whenever or in whichever area they are stationed. For Russian intelligence, it's not big deal to find out where these SAS formations are located and where a special boat service personnel is located. We should take them out for sure, right? As a retaliation for all the terrorist activity that they committed against Russian people. And we should, of course, take out British intelligence. British intelligence community have to be targeted in such a scale that they will never recover. I think that's absolutely necessary. We have to just take them out, man. They committed so many crimes against Russian people that they can never be forgiven. Never, ever, right? So British intelligence personnel, everybody, literally everybody there is a legit target, so we should kill them all. And hopefully we will. And until we will retaliate, of course, there will be always people in Europe that are so crazy, so emboldened with their impunity with which they were killing Russian citizens left and right with these drone attacks and their missile attacks and everything that they did, right, against Russian people, that they will continue to push for further escalation. And one of such persons that are extremely emboldened is Ursula von der Leyen. She is guilty of death of tens of thousands of Russian citizens, by the way, right? Personally, she is guilty of death of tens of thousands of Russian citizens because she, as a head of European Commission, was insisting tens of billions and hundreds of billions of euros to be transferred, to be allocated for a prolongation of this war. So she is guilty, no any less than British ruling class is, or British intelligence, or British certain groups of British militaries. She is guilty. So she is not a civilian, right? No one is innocent in the leadership of EU and in the leadership of EU member states. Plus, on top of that, UK as a kind of separate from EU entity. There are no civilians in their leadership. They all are legit targets, of course. And they try to kill Russian president, by the way. Let's not forget about that. They orchestrated attack on the Russian president, and reports are that at the time when in the Valdai area, residency of the Russian president was struck, his family was there. His daughter with family, and maybe, I don't know what the status of Putin's family, maybe his daughter has kids and stuff. I truly don't know. I'm not interested in family matters of politicians, right? But rumors are that his daughter with family was there, right? In that residency at the time of massive attacks that was orchestrated by British and US intelligence services. So no one should say, by the way, that political leadership of European NATO member states are civilians and they're innocent. No, 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 no. They attack Russian president. We have every right to retaliate with kind or in kind, right? But yes, Ursula von der Leyen is involved big time. Probably she don't believe even for a second that Moscow will ever retaliate on NATO member states. She probably believes that everything that Moscow says is a bluff, nothing more. And so she continues to push for more war. And she says, announced basically last Thursday, like 2 days ago, the completion of formation of a support package for Ukraine worth 6 billion euros. And this money, 6 billion euros, is going to go for drones. For drones, by the way. They are not even hiding. As I said, all this most of these manufacturing plants that are producing drones, long-range drones that are used against Russia, are located now in Europe, right? And they are allocating billions upon billions of euros for those manufacturers, basically, to produce these long-range drones in non-stop regime. And this is EU alone. EU member states, of course, are also obligated to allocate money for that. And that's why I'm saying, dear friends, we have to restore deterrent. We have to, and the only way we can do it to retaliate, actually, right? Sorry to say, man. Sorry to say, but we have to. Someone might say, Levan, you being warmonger or hardliner. No, man, I'm not actually. But I do understand that if we don't stop Western ruling class, at least now, even if our retaliation will cause certain, would not be, I mean, even if our retaliation would cause some damage and death as a result of possible tit for tat, let's say, if we don't retaliate now, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and I don't mean literally tomorrow, I mean in near future, we might end up even in bigger disaster, because the Western ruling class not gonna stop. They just cannot. They don't know how. They have no reverse gear. They have no brakes. How they will stop if we do not restore deterrent, if we do not retaliate? That's what it is, man. Between two unwanted scenarios, we have to choose now lesser destructive one. That's where we are, and that's why we have to do something about it and retaliate. Otherwise, if we continue this current restraint policy, man, at some point, look how much money they are allocating, and dozens of factories already are working 24/7 on production of these long-range drones in Europe, in European NATO member states. And there are billions and billions are allocated to produce those drones. Each drone costs, I mean, it depends, of course, but no more than 150,000, up to 200,000. Can you imagine how many drones can be produced by 6 billion euros? With 6 billion euros. And yet again, this is just a small package from EU. Let me remind you that UK Defense Ministry, that was, I believe, just recently announced that they're going to transfer 120,000 drones, I believe, to Kyiv regime before end of this year. Can you imagine how much that is in terms of money? So if we don't restore deterrent, if we don't retaliate, if we did not destroy these drone manufacturing plants in Europe, at some point we might actually face the situation when there are not just 1,000 drones being launched during the past 24 hours, but 2,000, maybe 3,000. And what kind of air defense systems gonna be able to repel such attacks on daily basis? It's not possible, right? And harm that those drones are doing to Russian people and Russian Federation will reach some unbelievable scales. It's already high, but can you imagine what 3,000 drones might do a day? And I mentioned UK, isn't it? I mentioned UK, and yeah, they are all about this war. European entities, and leadership of European entities, including UK, by the way, are in big trouble, politically speaking, extremely unpopular people. Economies in these countries, Germany, UK, France, Italy, you name it, by the way. I mean, economies are in trouble. Social fabric is stretched beyond any limits. And nevertheless, local political elites are basically mostly focused on prolongation of this proxy war against Russia. Nothing else matters for them. And you know why? Because they are puppets of globalists, man. This proxy war is a globalist project. They care about this war. They want to prolong this war as much as they can because they are still dreaming, globalists, I mean. They still are dreaming to achieve strategical defeat of Russia. And therefore, of course, they are ordering their puppets in the governments of these European countries, including UK, Germany, France, and others, to be focused on the war, to cut money on social spendings in their countries and allocate additional billions to prolong this proxy war against Russia. And that's what they do, man. Remember, recently I shared with you this interesting video from Germany when Chancellor Merz was booed by crowd when he started talking about decrease in social spending and stuff, and same time about necessity of, and everyone knows, by the way, same time when these people that are formally in charge of either Germany or other European countries, when they talk about cutting expenses domestically, they never say no to allocation of billions for the regime, for prolongation of this war, and people are sick and tired of that. And Merz was booed, by the way. I knew his rating was very low, but I was kind of surprised to see that. Video was quite impressive in this regard, that everybody was booing. I mean, what are you talking about? You want to cut money for domestic purposes and still continue finance and still are continuing financing this war against Russia? Really? No. So it's good that people are waking up, but nevertheless, I'm afraid it could be too late now. I'm afraid we reached the point when we have to retaliate, and we will retaliate. Although, never say never. Never say never, because I spotted this report on Solovyov Telegram channel today about statements of Peskov, press spokesman of the Russian president, when he was talking to Pavel Zarubin. Pavel Zarubin is a so-called journalist, by the way, propagandist on one of their TV channels. He's from inner circle of Putin or something. I don't know what's up there, right? I'm not even interested. I never watch anything Pavel Zarubin did. I don't know nothing about his journalism, and I don't think he's a journalist. He's a freaking propagandist, period. But anyways, every now and then, because he's right there in the Kremlin, he lives there probably, he talks to these officials and shares some information. And look what Peskov says. And these statements of these officials are quite telling, every now and then. I mean, maybe they don't even intend to share this to public, but unintentionally they are revealing some stuff that is sometimes could be good, sometimes troubling. And look what he's saying. Nuclear deterrence is a cornerstone of Russia's national security. Dmitry Peskov said in an interview with Pavel Zarubin for the program Moscow, Kremlin, Putin. And so this phrase alone, nuclear deterrence, is a cornerstone of Russia's national security. This sentence alone demonstrates so much, isn't it? So much. How I will not go into details there, but I have many questions, man. This sentence alone, that's what journalists do, man. One sentence alone might really reveal much more than author of the sentence was intending. So one can assume, I will not go into details, but at least right there on the surface, there is a question that, looks like Kremlin or President of Russian Federation and his press spokesman still to nowadays are thinking that we have a nuclear deterrent, which is what? Are you reading some news? Are you have any information about what's going on? Do you know how many times Russian nuclear triad was struck in past 4+ years? What are you talking about, for God's sake? What nuclear deterrence we have? We're not being struck by nuclear weapons. Other than that, they use freaking everything. And they targeted our nuclear triad on several occasions. Russian early warning radars, by the way, was struck. Russian nuclear fleet, aerial fleet, was struck, and some planes were lost. And Peskov thinks, or one might say he represents Putin, right? And so we can assume Putin still thinks to this moment that we have a nuclear deterrent and we are deterring anybody from anything. No, man. I mean, when I see this kind of stuff, then I have questions. Then I'm beginning to worry that maybe these people don't understand nothing. You know, maybe these people have no clue what's going on, right? And in that case, we might just continue with the current restraint policy, and God knows where we're gonna end up as a result. In dark place, man. I'm afraid. If we continue with the current this strategy of deterrence, if we call this nonsense a strategy, then we're gonna end up in a dark place, man. And this kind of statements from Peskov definitely is not giving us much reasons for the optimism. And I don't know. It's let me give you another quote. Well, look at the nuclear power. Look, a nuclear power cannot be threatened. It's this is quote. Its existence cannot be threatened. This gives us the opportunity to be confident in this, and this is the basis of nuclear deterrence. Goodness me, man. Peskov, where are you living? Are you represent Russian president, or maybe you are living somewhere in, I don't know, man, in another universe? Because in this universe, in this world, Russia was not just threatened, Russia is attacked on daily basis. Russian strategical infrastructure is being targeted on daily basis, or almost on daily basis. Russian nuclear triad is being targeted. Russia is being threatened. And you are saying that no one can threaten country, no one can attack country because we have nuclear deterrence. Okay, man. Okay, I don't want to lose my cool, man. So, I mean, it's too bad, right? It's just too freaking bad, man. What this guy is talking about there. And look, reactions. This post was published on Solovyov at 1:42, right? At 2 p.m. approximately, 5 hours ago. At the time, it had 14.5 thousand K views, and not that many reactions. But look at the reactions, by the way. Majority reactions are negative on these statements of Peskov, because people, as I have questions, many people have also questions and asking what this guy is talking about here. Right? We've been attacked every day. Our nuclear triad is being attacked at least several times, and he's talking about the nuclear countries are untouchable and we have deterrence in the place. Really? About 100 people, I mean, at that point. On the second place, there is this laughing smile. Like people are just laughing, man, right? And that's also an indicator of something. When people are beginning to laugh, that means they lost all hope that certain groups of people, when people laugh at politicians and their statements, probably that means they lost any hope that they will ever come back from whatever world they are living in, right? They will not come back to actual reality. And there is other reactions there, right? So this is also something that I think worth attention, because I don't know, these statements probably mean something, isn't it? And if Peskov actually believes, or even worse, if Russian president believes that we still have some deterrence and we are deterring anybody, that's too bad, man. That's too freaking bad, because we are not deterring nobody. Even Estonia, for God's sake, man, even Estonia is targeting Russia. What are we talking about? And I mentioned in the beginning, dear friends, that there was last Friday, during the last previous my stream, basically. Yesterday I had a day off, isn't it? So on Friday, I missed this question from NSPK 77 during the live stream. My apologies for that, NSPK, and thank you very much for $10 donation last Friday. And your question, which is NSPK is asking, how sure is this time that Russia will retaliate towards NATO countries? Sources. Well, I just shared NSPK. I just shared these statements of Peskov, right? And based on these statements, one probably would not think that Russia is about to retaliate on anybody. Peskov is indicating in his words there that there is deterrence in place, right? So if we have deterrence in place, and if no one is attacking Russia and no one is threatening Russia, then any talks about retaliation is useless, because if no one is attacking you, you are not going to retaliate on no one. It's crazy stuff there, right? It's crazy stuff. But I also remember statements of defense ministry, right? When defense ministry published a list of countries, remember I was sharing, I shared information about it. NSPK, and if you want a source, just Google if RIA Novosti or TASS News Agency or Vzгляд or Kommersant is not blocked. At least some media outlet, Russian media outlet, would not be blocked in your country if you are from the West. And just Google Russian Defense Ministry's list of countries and the companies are linked to Ukraine. And I think reports will pop up, sources. You will get links, and you can read their entire statement of the Russian Defense Ministry. I cannot remember exact date when the Defense Ministry come up with that strong warning, but I read the entire statement. I literally read the entire statement during the program, but I can't remember what date was that. It was like 3 weeks ago now, approximately. And when it comes to first half, of your question, how sure I am personally, for example, that this time Russia will retaliate towards NATO countries, I will say 55% sure. I'm not 100% confident, sir. But I think there is a high probability that we will retaliate, because otherwise, I mean, I don't think Kremlin is completely isolated from the reality, right? Yes, those people are in a position of power a very long time. Putin and all his inner circle, they are in a position of power for a long time, and as you know, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And that corruption means that corruption means, in that case, not just links to some dodgy money stuff, but it's a corruption it's a mental corruption, right? You are losing touch with reality. Your mind is becoming corrupt. You are ending up in a bubble, in a bubble from which you see certain things in a certain way, and the rest of your countrymen might see things very differently, right? I think this is very, very true statement, very true say that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely, right? And I'm afraid people in Russian leadership is not immune to this mind corruption, because they are in the power for decades now, and look at the statements of Peskov. I mean, does this statement it looks like normal to you? Honestly, is this statement appropriate to a statement of a press spokesman of the president of the country, which is being attacked by NATO member states 4+ years now, 5th year now? And he is talking, including, by the way, strategical objects, including nuclear triad, including civilians, everything was attacked, right? And he's talking about that we have some deterrent and stuff like that. What deterrent we have? Nothing. So therefore, without going into any more details, this program is already like quite long enough. I think objective reality is not really leaving choice for the Kremlin but to retaliate, right? No matter how much Putin is still dreaming about building some ties with the European elites or the Western elites or stuff, no matter how much he wants to be friends with European elites, no matter how much he wants to see in Western elites partners and I don't know, maybe even allies and stuff. No matter how friendly towards West he is or wants to be or whatever, I don't know what's going on in his mind, obviously. But I mean, when 1,000 drones are flying, 1,000 drones and missiles are flying on Russia on a daily basis, that's the objective reality that will force you to do something about it, right? And if you're going to rely on air defenses alone, then sorry, but you're going to find out hard way that was a mistake, because no air defense system in the world, even the best one as Russia has, going to be able to deal with the thousands or upon thousands of aerial targets on daily basis, right? So we don't really have, I think we've been cornered kind of, right? By Western ruling class. We've been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed towards the corner. And remember, I was saying for a long time that at some point, Russian leadership will find itself for being cornered, from which there will be only one way out: extreme force to be deployed. And we are in that place now. And so it does not really matter what Putin wanted or didn't wanted in regards to relationships with the Western ruling class. He is a Russian president, and he is obligated to protect Russian people and Russian Federation, and he don't really has an option but to strike back on NATO member states that are engaged in this war against Russia, and to strike back on all the legit targets, including on manufacturing plants that are located in Europe and are producing large quantities of drones that then are launched against Russia. So this is my answer. I personally think that there is I will say 55% chances or 60% chances that objective reality will force Kremlin to react strongly and retaliate on NATO member states. Although I will also acknowledge that it also can be that Putin and his inner circle are in such a that they can do they maybe they will do nothing. I mean, let me say it this way, man. There is also a probability, I guess, that they will do nothing. Maybe they will say, you know what, air defenses will deal with the situation, right? I don't know, but I think there is a higher probability that we will retaliate, although there is a probability that Putin will still prefer restraint policy. And in that case, we're gonna find ourselves in a freaking dark place, man, very soon, because that will be a mistake, in my personal opinion. And Putin already made tremendous mistakes, by the way, tremendous mistakes that I don't think he will ever be able to forgive himself. I don't think he cares what we think about his policies, but so many people died, man. I don't think he will ever forgive himself, right? I don't know. This is better I can answer. Thank you very much, NSPK, for your donation past Friday, $10 donation past Friday during the stream. And my apologies that I was unable to react on your question right there during the stream. Sometimes it happens, sir. I might receive a message a few minutes later when stream is over already, or but I will react as I promised. I will react on it anyways in next live stream, and that's what I did. So thank you very much once again for your very crucial question, actually, right? A question that everybody wants to have an answer, and only one person knows how we will do. That person is Putin, right? I don't think anybody else knows, man, what we're gonna do. It's only Putin. And a few more news. How long is this update? It's already more than an hour. Okay. There is quite a number of news left, dear friends. Quite a number of news left, and let's go through other topics too, and then let's have a good community chat, dear friends, after the news segment. I will try to be faster. And so Chinese leader Xi Jinping accepted invitation by US president to visit United States, and I believe Chinese leader Xi Jinping will visit then, in that case, US in September, right? In September. So, okay, interesting. And when it comes to trip itself, I don't know what you think, dear friends, but I am kind of surprised because, I was saying that I think US is in a weaker position, probably in weakest position ever in regards to China. And that's why I was thinking maybe certain groups in US would try to derail this Trump's visit to China because they don't want to be seen as weak. But on the other hand, further, if they will postpone this visit again, that will have also a negative impact, isn't it? US will look weak even in that case. So eventually this visit happened. And nevertheless, even though I myself was saying that US has never been this weak on geopolitical scale, on the geopolitical plane, and vis-a-vis China too. But nevertheless, I was thinking that because Trump talked with him, this massive delegation of CEOs, and not just officials, but a lot of CEOs and stuff, I was thinking, oh, they're going to press China. They're going to press China big time to continue to be one of the major investors in the US financial system, economy, industry, and so on. But it did not happen. And that is quite surprising to me, man. It did not happen. Yes, sir, I know there are some reports that allegedly there was some promises made that the Chinese will buy some 200 Boeing planes, which is a big deal, yeah. Tens of thousands of billions of dollars potentially if agreement will actually go through. Also, there are talks about China increasing its purchases of some agricultural produce from US, soybeans, and some other stuff. But nothing extraordinary has come out of this visit, as of now at least, right? Literally nothing that will say that the US pressed China to invest hundreds of billions into US economy or trillions or something. No, none of it happened, and that was to me personally, yet again, quite shocking. I'm gonna tell you though, because I did not expect US to be actually this weak vis-a-vis China. But they are, I guess, right? They are, I guess. And the entire this trip of Trump and his this huge delegation looks like a tourist trip. That's all it is, man. These dozens of people went to China, see some stuff, walk around parks, nice squares, some, and okay, they went back to US. Quite expensive tourist trip, I will say, quite expensive, and because it does looks like a tourist trip. And I spoke about this difference yesterday, partially during that walk and talk video that I recorded for Patreon and Boosty communities, and I published this morning, dear friends. If you are a subscriber there, it was me and Dana. We went for a little walker in the city. It was nice walk around actually, and we enjoyed for sure. And it lasted 4 or 5 hours, and I was filming in different places, and every now and then I was commenting on some political stuff. And I spoke about this China US stuff also, and yeah, because looks like everybody is mocking now Trump for this pretty much failed visit. I was thinking probably he will go crazy, and it will be even easier for Western ruling class to push him around now, and for example, to further escalate in the Middle East. And I'm afraid that's exactly what they're gonna do. That's exactly what they're gonna do. I was saying even before this China visit of Trump that after visit, American military will probably launch attacks on Iran, and now I am practically confident that 100% confident that that's exactly what is going to happen. And in next several days, next week basically, they will attack Iran. They will escalate with Iran, and I spoke about it yesterday in that walk and talk video for Patreon and Boosty. And today I find out that New York Times is basically writing exactly the same topic in exactly the same way. US and Israel preparing to renew attacks on Iran next week, according to New York Times. US and Israel are actively preparing for a renewal of hostilities with Iran and could resume attacks as early as next week, New York Times has reported, citing sources. And I think, yes, there is a very high probability that that's exactly what is going to happen. It's not going to be a full-scale war, second phase of a full-scale war, because neither US, neither Israel, of course, are in no position to sustain high level of military pressure on Iran. For several months, right? Because of the lack in numbers of long-range missiles, right? Long-range means of delivery. But Western ruling class at this point, Western ruling class might be quite okay with such a strategy that every once in a month, let's say US, Israel, they are striking Iran. Iran is retaliating. Region stays in instability, hostage of instability, right? Partially isolated, at least partially isolated from the rest of the world. And that means that longer this partial isolation continues, more and more pressure there is on China to increase oil exports from elsewhere, oil exports that were previously coming from Middle East, but no longer. So where China gonna buy this needed oil, much needed oil? In Russia, of course. And I already said, dear friends, that based on our data statistics for this year, China already increased their exports of oil from Russia by 30% compared to last year, which is a huge increase, right? And that's exactly what Western elites want. They want her to force China to increase its dependence on Russian energy up to a critical level, right? They want that. Western elites. And I mean, Russia and China cannot allow this to happen. And the only way we can stop this process is to step up our politics, right? Our policies, and try and deter Western ruling class from further escalation in the Middle East. Otherwise, they will continue. They will continue this limited attacks on Iran. Iran will always retaliate. This will continue, let's say, probably until winter. And during the winter, they will launch ground operation to make sure that they're going to keep this region at least partially isolated from the rest of the world for years to come. And that will definitely force China to increase its dependence on Russia big time. Neither Moscow, neither Beijing can afford this to happen. We cannot afford Western ruling class to succeed in the Middle Eastern chapter of their strategy, which is focused on destruction of Russia and China and on cementing the forever dominance of the Western elite. So therefore, we have to come up with something. We have to deter Western ruling class. Russia has to deter Western ruling class on separate occasion in regards to European theater of operation, let's see, and Russia and China together have to deter Western ruling class in the Middle East. We just have to do this. And my hope is that we will. Right? Meanwhile, RIA Novosti is reporting that Washington has responded on Tehran's peace proposal, and this response is negative. Let me give you details on that. In response to Iran's peace proposal, the United States has put forward its own 5-point proposal, Fars news agency reports. This a clear deception, right? This deception operation that Washington is playing with, they're never gonna end, really, right? Never gonna end. Let me give you details. Washington put forward their following 5 demands: the refusal to pay and their kind of reparations and compensations by United States. So U.S. don't want to pay any reparations to Iran. Second point, the removal from Iran and the transfer to United States of 400 kilograms of uranium, enriched uranium. That is. Third one, the continuation of the operation of only one of Iran's nuclear facilities. Nonsense. Iran will never agree on that, of course. Refusal to unfreeze even 25% of frozen Iranian assets. Okay. And fifth point, cessation of hostilities everywhere dependent on the completion of negotiations. Publication from Fars, Iranian Fars news agency says, and you understand, dear friends, I mean, this is clear. This topic of peace talks, negotiations between US and Iran is a deception operation on behalf of Washington, nothing else. I was saying this from the very beginning, and it is the case 100%, because these 5 points that Washington is coming, of course, this is nonsense, right? Of course, Iran will never agree on that. Obviously, and Washington knows this perfectly well, and that's why they are coming up with such a proposals that will never be agreed on, and that gives them justification to maintain their military force in the region and to escalate with Iran whenever they feel like it. And that's what they're gonna do. Probably next week they will escalate. Then after that escalation, they're gonna be, I guess, some pause again, and after 3-4 weeks another escalation, then again pause, then again escalation. And meanwhile, US and its allies will bring her into a region or close to a region military assets for ground invasion. They're gonna go for ground invasion, by the way, during the upcoming winter. If Russia and China will not deter Western ruling class, if Moscow and Beijing will make a stand, right, and force Western ruling class to back down, that will change calculus, of course. In that case, things might go very differently. But if Moscow and Beijing will not step up their policies, will not make a stand to the Western ruling class, then this winter, I think we will see invasion of Iran by US ground forces and by their allies, right? Whoever those allies going to be. Also, I want to share with you this information that one of which tells us that one of those so-called allies of US that will participate openly in a war against Iran could be UAE, because so much is done, so many false flag operations is done against UAE, and in some cases even with participation of UAE, that I don't think Abu Dhabi is left with any options but to obey any orders now from the West, right? And today we have this disturbing report that drone attack occurred at the Barakash nuclear power plant, which is in UAE. Fire in electrical generator outside inner perimeter under the control. No injuries, no impact on radiological safety levels. Information says as of now, and this is of course yet another false flag operation orchestrated by Israeli US intelligence services. They targeted nuclear power plant in UAE, and they will push UAE now to go for Iranian nuclear power plant, which is based basically on other side of little up north, but anyways on other side of Persian Gulf, right? Bushehr nuclear power plant. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if in upcoming days, Bushehr power plant, nuclear power plant in Iran will be targeted by UAE or with UAE involvement. You know, and it's so easy to read, isn't it? It's so easy to read what Western ruling class is up to, what Zionists are up to. But unfortunately, I don't know why, but Western so-called media is never on point, never reports nothing of nothing about real stuff, right? And public is also a significant portion of the public, at least, also is quite reluctant to search for themselves, right, to find out what's going on. And that's what is going on. False flag operation on a false flag operation on top of false flag operation. It's crazy. Well, I mentioned Israel, that Israel most definitely was involved in that false flag attack on UAE's nuclear power plant. I'm quite sure that's exactly the case. And when it comes to Israel itself, by the way, there was an explosion that rocked area not far away from Jerusalem, in Beit Shemesh area. And what is known for now is that emergency occurred in Israel on the night of May 17. A powerful explosion rocked the Beit Shemesh area. The explosion occurred at the site of the state-owned defense company Tomer. The Times of Israel shared the details of this incident. Really, Times of Israel shared details. They shared their official narrative. That's what they shared. Explosion was allegedly part of a planned experiment. According to Tomer, their situation was under control. The company develops rocket and their missile engines. Screenshots from their eyewitnesses videos of their explosion in Israel on May 17th shows this powerful explosion. I mean, I can show you actually. I mean, you can check on my, I think I shared on my Telegram, by the way, some videos of these explosions. Maybe I didn't, but you can see some screenshots right there. Different rumors are circulating about this enterprise. Some say it was producing Arrow-free rockets that were used against Iran. Also, reports are that this massive explosion happened in an area where Israel is storing nukes. which is I don't know, which is very serious stuff. Uh, so I do believe that this enterprise was involved in the production of rockets that then were used against Iran. I don't know about Israeli nukes. If Israeli nukes were stored somewhere near this area, could be case. Who knows? Who knows, of course. But either way, I don't think this was an accident. I definitely don't think this was some testing, testing, pre-plant testing, or the accident. I think maybe Iranian Iranian specialists helped that enterprise to go up in flames. It's a legit target for Iran. It's a legit target for Iran, and they have every right to do so. Literally every right to do so. By the way, they are engaged. Israel and US launched war against Iran, illegal, absolutely illegal war of choice, and Iran is in the right to retaliate anywhere on Israeli territory or on US territory, for that matter. It is what it is. So I think this is most likely a result of some special operation by Iranian special forces. Although I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken, and it was actually some testing of sort. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi, meanwhile, made a quite interesting statement. This is quote: "I met President Putin less than 2 weeks ago, and we discussed the offer to move uranium to Russia." He made this statement, I believe, on the sideline of BRICS Foreign Ministers Summit that took place in India on 14th and 15th of May. Maybe not there, but either way, when I saw this report, I was thinking, you know what, I have to share this because this is important. Another quote here: "We are thankful to our Russian friends for their offer and intention to help. Of course, this is something that we have to decide during the negotiations. And you know what? Even though US come up with their demands that this Iranian enriched uranium have to be sent to US, but in reality, I think maybe Moscow and Tehran actually are working on the plans to remove this enriched uranium from Iran to Russia. And I'm saying so because Abbas Araghchi himself says that Russian president offered it 2 weeks ago, right? He was in Moscow. Remember, dear friends, about 2 weeks ago, he was in Moscow. He had a meeting with the Russian president, Putin, in St. Petersburg. And maybe, just maybe, if Russian president offered help to remove this freaking uranium and therefore kill the only talking point that Western ruling class has, that Iran plans to build nuclear weapons, that's why they have this enriched uranium up to 60%. If this was discussed and if sides actually agree, and I'm speculating now, if sides actually agree to go ahead with this plan, then this information, dear friends, remember this information of flotilla of Russian tank ships escorted by military vessels that was spotted moving in East China Sea on May 9th, 10th, might actually be linked with Iran. Maybe this flotilla, in which there is two warships, right? Two warships, one tugboat, one another assistant boat, and 6 cargo vessels, 6 big cargo vessels. Maybe this flotilla is moving some special equipment towards Iran to actually remove enriched uranium. Is it a possibility? Maybe. At the time of this information, I was reporting, by the way, on 11th of May, right? I reported that 10 ships of Russian Pacific Fleet convoy transited Japan's Tashima Strait over their weekend, entered the East China Sea. The group includes corvettes, совершенный резкий, also Dubna-class fleet oiler, tugboat Andrei Stepanov, and 6 cargo ships. And you can see on your screen all these vessels, right? And since that time, probably these vessels already reached, I mean, probably they already are somewhere either around, I don't know, Vietnam, maybe, or maybe they're already close to Indian coast, right? I don't know speed with which they are moving, obviously. And it well might be that these vessels will either try to break through American blockade of Iran and reach Iranian ports, either in Oman Gulf or Persian Gulf, or maybe they will dock somewhere in Pakistan, they will unload the special equipment that will be needed, obviously, to move enriched uranium from Iran. And maybe this convoy then of special equipment, this special equipment will be transferred in Pakistan on the trucks, and this truck will go into Iran and stuff like that. I don't know, of course, but I think there is a probability. That this convoy is linked to Iran, to operation about removal of enriched uranium. Either this, or only one explanation I have about this convoy is that it's heading towards Africa to reinforce Russian African Corps. Also could be case. I don't know. Ань, ты не сказала что-нибудь? А. Okay. I will do that right now. Anna is telling me that there are super chats there. I should, react on it and then continue. Okay, dear friends, if I may, let's make a little pause, isn't it? Because it's sometimes there's so many news, and constant talk about this news. It could be overwhelming. Let's make a minute break. I will highlight some super chats right now. There was a super chat from Scooby, dear friends. 2 super chats. Also, Scooby gifted a premium subscription. On my channel on Rumble, and also Viper did it. So I will highlight all of it, dear friends, if I may. It will take a minute, and meanwhile I will have a little break from news, right? I will clear ahead to continue with some news, and there are some interesting, important news left, dear friends, that I want to share, and then let's have a community chatter. So I will start with this super chat. I already highlighted in the beginning, donation from Alexander G and the commentary from Boosty, and also donation and the commentary from Hungary from Eva and her husband. Thank you all again, and now I will continue highlighting super chats. So Scooby, thank you very much for your super chatter and $5 donation on Rumble. And Scooby is commenting, even Larry Johnson is saying Joaquin is a stupid snake oil salesman and probably an intelligence asset. Really? I mean, I did not see when Larry Johnson said about it. I mean, Scooby, what I can say, I don't really have a strong opinion about Joaquin. This person, dear friends, is a Professor Juan. Lately he become famous on internet, very famous actually. He was invited on very many big channels on internet, and he's talking some stuff about politics, geopolitics, economy, this and that. He's actively using game theory to come up with some in his thought process. And I don't know, Scooby. I mean, I have no strong opinion about this person. I'm against calling everybody that we might disagree or dislike to be asset of some secret services, because it cannot be, right? It cannot be that everybody is a freaking asset. So why would he be asset of either Chinese secret services or US secret services or whichever secret services? I mean, why? What he's saying that is actually extraordinary. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? I just don't have a strong opinion about this person. I don't have negative attitude towards him. Also, I'm kind of neutral. He's been invited. Many people, I guess, likes to hear from him, and okay. I mean, what can I say about it? But um, you know, but I personally don't really think about it. And honestly, I have seen his like maybe 3, 4, 5 max interviews. That's all. That's all the basis that I have for opinion, right? And it's nothing. I did not follow his works. I don't really know what he's talking about on his channel or the channels, right? I don't know what he sells or don't sells. I have no idea what about this person. So therefore, it would be not right on my behalf to say anything negative about person when I just don't know, right? So thank you very much, Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your donation and $5 donation. And there was another super chat also from Scooby. Again, thank you for a $2 donation and the commentary. And Scooby is commenting, Rapiunik said Russia does not have tactical nukes. They have minimum 75 kiloton nukes. They just claim are tactical, but in reality are strategic bombs, theater or strategic bombs. Well, I don't know. I mean, this is a topic, Scooby, that you have to actually have some knowledge. And I know only what is publicly available information. We have most nukes. We have more than any other country. Obviously, we have strategical nuclear weapons. When it comes to tactical nuclear weapons, I mean, technically speaking, if you take a warhead, if you take a nuclear device, right, it could be, I don't think tactical nuke has to have a low yield necessarily. Tactical nuke is, in my understanding, and I'm not military expert, so therefore let's take my opinion with a pinch of salt. But I think tactical nuke is any nuke that is used to achieve some success in a tactical level, right? Strategical nukes are nukes that are intent to achieve certain tasks on a strategical level, and therefore, for example, nukes that are launched by Russian Borei class submarines, for example. Let's hope that Boreis will never launch no nukes in no direction. But if Boreis are launching their ICBMs, that's a strategical nukes, right? That means that some country or some countries gonna get obliterated now. But if you take a single warhead or literally same type of nuclear devices that are in a Bulava missiles, for example, that are launched by, let's say, Borei. If you use this warhead, if you put that on Iskander missile, which is nuclear capable, I believe, and if Iskander delivers this warhead, that's a tactical nuke, isn't it? Because you use it to achieve some tactical goals on the battlefield. So therefore, I don't know what Krapivnik meant. Any nuclear weapon can be tactical if it's used in terms of tactical tasks. I don't think a tactical nuclear warhead definitely necessarily has to have a less yield than a certain volume, right? 75 kilotons is exactly the tactical nuclear. If you ask me, 75 to 100, 150 kilotons. I mean, 150 might be too big, okay, but even then, even so, what? It's a tactical. You can use it as a tactical weapon. So I don't know what he meant, Krapivnik, that Russia does not have tactical nukes. Maybe he meant that we don't have a very low yield nuclear weapons like 5 kiloton or 10 kiloton or 20 kiloton nuclear weapons. I don't know. Maybe we don't. From what I have read about matter is that during the Soviet era, by the way, we had artillery shells that had a tactical, that had a nuclear device in it, right? And there was also special munitions, special devices with very low yield. Special nuclear devices with very low yield, about 3 to 5 kilotons that could be put in a suitcase. There were different. This is from Soviet era, by the way, right? Information probably was declassified, and I have read about it like decades ago now. So Soviet Union was working on a low yield weaponry. Maybe we don't right now, but 75 kiloton warhead, well, might work as a tactical nuke. I see no issue there, really. As long as you can take their nuclear device, put in a nuclear capable missile and launch for 100, 200, 300, 500,000 kilometers and take out some stronghold of the enemy or military industrial area or something like military base, it's all good, right? It will do its job. So, but yet again, I'm not military expert, so what I know, man. Understanding of their thing. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and donation. I see Michael Kennedy is reacting. SS-20s scared the NATO. SS-20s, yes, they did. They scared Europe, isn't it? This SS-20s, dear friends, if you don't know, was a medium range delivery vehicle, basically, that were able medium range delivery vehicle, rocket, basically, that was able to carry multiple reentry vehicles, multiple warheads, nuclear warheads, basically. And Europeans were very keen when between Soviet Union and US there were negotiations. Western Europeans were very keen to push this agenda of getting rid of tactical missiles or medium range missiles, let's say. And agreement was reached. And unfortunately, Soviet leadership was so freaking idiot, so stupid, that they destroy SS-20 missiles, these freaking traitors. They were traitors, by the way, right? Gorbachev and everybody around him were fucking traitors, disgusting elements, right? And they actually destroyed this state-of-art of missile system, SS-20. It was unique, and I have seen it firsthand, dear friends, in Tbilisi, right? You might be surprised, but yes, I have seen it in Tbilisi, by the way, when SS-20s were moving. When there were victory parades, by the way. Victory parades were in all republics, in capitals of all republics, in Tbilisi too. And I was kid, right? I was kid at the time. And I was seeing this SS-20s moving. I was seeing it from my balcony, by the way. They were moving on the bank of Antwari River. In Russian, it's Kura. It goes through central Tbilisi, right? And I have seen these SS-20s with my own eyes. It was magnificent weapons, man. Also Tochka-Us and all that kind of stuff, right? Scud missiles, probably. And it was crazy. It was a crazy stuff to destroy these SS-20s. By the way, you might say, well, Americans destroy Pershings as a result of agreement. Really, Pershing was destined to retire anyways, and we destroy brand new, extremely capable missile system, SS-20. How stupid is that? But anyways, yes, I think you are absolutely 100% correct, Michael. European NATO member states were scared of SS-20. I mean, that's in Russian. In Russian, it's RS, right? We don't say SS, RS. But yeah, English is in NATO classification, it's SS-20. Yeah, a great missile that was able to carry nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads, and those nuclear warheads would be considered probably at the time tactical nukes, right? And yield of those nukes probably was no any less than, I don't know, 75 to 150 kilotons. So it's about tasks and purposes for which you are using nukes. Other than that, I don't think there is much difference between a yield of a strategical nuke and the tactical, or warhead of a strategical missile or the tactical missile. And also, let me highlight the difference. As I said, Scooby gifted their premium subscription on Rumble. Thank you very much, Scooby. This is a $5 donation, actually. So thank you very much, Scooby, for your support also. And Viper gifted free. Viper gifted a free gifts of premium subscription on Rumble, which is a $15 donation. So thank you very much, Viper, for your support. Thank you very much. And right now, dear friends, literally a minute ago, there was another super chat from Scooby, and let me react on it. And then I will continue with news, and then let's have a proper community chat, big one. If you are not tired, of course. If you are not tired, of course. And thank you very much, Scooby, for your another super chat and $2 donation on Rumble. Scooby is commenting popular opinion in the UK is to have a net negative migration policy in a country where their native population does not breed. It's a suicidal country, and not only their elites are suicidal, but people too. Well, sorry to hear that, Scooby. I have spent quite a few years in UK, and I have great memories, by the way. Only regret I have that I was just too freaking young, too freaking stupid, and I did not travel around UK. I regret that big time, right? I should go everywhere, man. I should travel all around the Welsh, all around England itself too. I travel a little bit around England, but not in Welsh, not in Scotland, by the way. I did not went to Northern Ireland too, obviously. Obviously, because if I didn't go to Scotland, I probably wouldn't go into Ireland too. And I had the opportunities, by the way, right? I had the opportunities, but I missed on that, and that's a big regret of me. But other than that, great people, by the way. What can I say? Great people, great memories, right? I loved everything, honestly, man. Some people say that Brits are very negative towards foreigners and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe now, maybe there is so many foreigners now that people are a bit fed up with everything and stuff like that. I cannot tell. But 25 years ago, when I was living in England, in UK, people were very kind and friendly. I don't know, man, right? It was great, and I really feel sorry, man, for ordinary people that are going through a struggle, right? Due to crazy policies of their governments, and if a large enough number of societies is is being manipulated by the propaganda in certain directions, then this society might become its own enemy without even realizing that. You see, so in many ways, I agree with you. I mean, to be extremely against to have extreme takes on the migration topic, it's I don't think that's necessarily the way forward, because I mean, you need to grow, isn't it? You need your population to grow, your economy to grow, right? And migration necessary itself is not a negative thing, as long as you have borders in place, right? And you have some checks and balances in place. And as long as you want to make sure, or you have infrastructure in place to make sure that these migrants gonna integrate, and they're gonna want to integrate into society. You see, when we, by the way, even though I never consider Russia to be a foreign country, right? I'm born in Soviet Union, so therefore I have my specific take, Soviet take towards other peoples of Soviet Union. I see us, all of us, to be one people, right? But nevertheless, originally I'm from Georgia, right? But when we do it through some life story that happened in Georgia, when we were forced to move away, and when we end up in Russia, and when we become Russian citizens, not so long ago, by the way. We end up in Russia in 2009, but I become Russian citizen in 2021. So more than 10 years, I was a stateless person, because regime Saakashvili's regime in Georgia in 2009, that was, right? They took my citizenship away based on some fake stuff that they themselves faked, right? But that's a whole different story. When we end up here in Russia, we were very focused to integrate into society, right? My kids, they know Russian perfectly well, right? They know Russian better than they know Georgian, for example, or Ossetian. And that was a choice that we made, me and my wife, right? We did not choose for a living any area where is some sort of a like ethnic or enclave or something like that. No, we want to be just ordinary citizens of Russia, right? Good citizens of Russia. And we want our kids to be absolutely integrated in Russian society. And that's why we acted in such a manner. And also there was infrastructure. When you want it, there is infrastructure built by country for you to help you to integrate. And so we are integrating quite successfully, I will argue. But there is another examples too. There are examples when families are maybe living here in Russia, very same time, let's say first generation migrants, they are living very same time as we are, for example, but they don't speak proper Russian. Their kids don't speak Russian. And you might think they don't even care about Russia, right? They don't even want to be integrated into Russian society. And in that case, question will rise, is this was the right decision to allow people that have such an attitude or towards Russia into country? Maybe that was a mistake. Many European countries made such a mistake. They allow millions of people in that never had no intention to be part of a society, right? And that is the issue now. That is a big issue, and that creates tension. But you nevertheless, you cannot shut down border completely, isn't it? Because there is always people that actually want to be part of society, right? Want to be integrated, and why you should block those people from coming in? It's a difficult stuff, by the way. Of course, this topic of my everywhere here in Russia too. Maybe not on such a scale as it is in Europe, but it's a topic here too. Thank you very much, Scooby, for sharing your take on this matter and for your donation on Rumble. Thank you. And And dear friends, let's continue with the news, right? Let's continue with the news that I have left to share with you. Iran announced the creation of a mechanism to control shipping in Hormuz Strait. Iran has developed a mechanism for managing traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. It will be presented soon. Ebrahim Azizi, head of the Iranian Parliament's National Security Committee, wrote in a statement, and looks like Tehran itself is still working on the mechanisms of control over the Strait of Hormuz. Every other week we have some statements about it. Some statements said that administration is already being created, and it was created, Iranian administration of the Strait of Hormuz. There are also statements that Hormuz will be controlled by Iran and Oman together, because strait literally lays on the territorial waters of these two countries. Also, there are some other statements. So I guess Iran itself needs some time to finalize work on this idea of managing this Strait of Hormuz. It will be hard to persuade even allies. Of course, Tehran understands that it will be hard to persuade even allies of Iran that this is the way to go, to ask for, to tax basically vessels that are passing through the strait. This will create precedent that might in the future disrupt global navigation big time, right? Can you imagine if, I don't know, man, Malacca Strait is being now shut down, or Bosphorus being shut down, or the Panama Channel is being shut down, or something like that. If some terms are not met of local governments, but on the other hand, everyone understands that Iran was attacked by US and Israel, and tremendous damage, harm was done to Iran, and Iran has to get compensation one way or another. But Iranian people have to receive compensations for all the harm that was done to them for no reason at all, for no reason whatsoever. They never actually endangered either US or Israel. They never attacked, none of them, right? And I don't take no false arguments that, well, Iran is supporting Hezbollah and Houthis and stuff. Yes, Iran is supporting resistance movement, and so what? Good on Iran, by the way. Whole world should support resistance movements. That's what I will say on that. Hezbollah is only defense that Lebanese people have, man. And Lebanese people are proud of Hezbollah fighters that are protecting the people. And Hezbollah fighters don't care. They are protecting Shiites or Sunnis or Christians or atheists, man. They protect everybody. They protect Lebanese people. That's all. And that's why, world will never buy this narrative of Israel or the West that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. No, it's not. It was never a terrorist organization. Some Hezbollah fighters may committed some illegal activity. Might be. That should be a separate case, right? As there is no organization in this world that never had as a member someone who might break some laws. But Hezbollah, as an organization, is a resistance movement and has not just every right to be treated as such, but by many people is celebrated, and for a reason, right? So it's a difficult balance, difficult act of balance gonna be played there in regards to Strait of Hormuz. But if some other ways of compensation will be created, then probably Tehran will say, okay, I mean, we're gonna get our compensation one way or another. But either way, as of now, Iran insists that Strait of Hormuz is going to be under their control forever. Also, Iranian state television reported that authorities seized their foreign tanker in the Strait of Hormuz carrying 450,000 barrels of oil, Tanker was detained for violating Iranian economic regulations and they're disrupting their country's economic order. So you see, Iran is not just saying that they're gonna control Hormuz; they actually control Strait. And if any vessel, including this particular tanker that was carrying 450,000 barrels of oil, will try to break through Hormuz without cooperating with the Iranian side, that's what's gonna happen. Either they're gonna be arrested, or in a worst case scenario, something might get struck this vessel, and the consequence is going to be even worse. Iran is in control. That's it. And by the way, we have a news that might terrify Iranian leadership, and they might change their mind. They might change all their policies, right? They might even apologize for introducing certain restrictions for certain entities on the Strait of Hormuz. That's how they're going to be terrified when they will hear that Estonia, by the way, considers sending military contingent to Strait of Hormuz. And this is not a joke. This is actually a report, by the way, that I see, right? So Estonian government is considering the possibility of sending a military contingent to Strait of Hormuz. The option under the discussion includes dispatching staff officers, underwater robotics teams, and mine hunter vessels. Estonian Defense Minister Huno Pevkur or whatever said that the financial cost of their option and the needs of allies are currently being assessed. If naval deployment is selected, the mission could involve between 40 and 60 personnel. Okay, man, Iran, get ready. 40 to 60 Estonians are coming, and oh dear. You know, that's gonna be battle of unprecedented scale. 40 to 60 Estonians are coming, man. Good luck. I don't know, man. These people have no shame, isn't it? I mean, honestly, man, these freaking idiots that globalists put in a position of power in these freaking non-entities, they have no shame, isn't it? I mean, do they understand that whenever anybody reads this kind of news, they're gonna freaking laugh and mock Estonia and their leadership? They're gonna send 40 to 60 personnel, man. Goodness me, freaking idiots. Meanwhile, Turkey has started working on an aircraft carrier group. Turkey announced that it has begun working on a deck-based version of their Huret training aircraft that you see on your screen, your friends, on top there, which will be used for training naval aviators of their maritime aviation. And you know, dear friends, Turkey has their ambitions to build their proper aircraft carrier. I think they already are in the process of working on this project. They are already beginning trials, works to have a proper training planes to prepare strike wing of the aircraft carrier. And the question I have personally is why. I mean, look at the Mediterranean, by the way. Look at the Mediterranean. It looks like a big sea, and it is big, right? Mediterranean, but to hide the aircraft carrier, Mediterranean is just too small, right? And we all know, dear friends, Turkey is the next target of Zionists, for sure. Turkey is also a target for a number of European NATO member states, and probably will be first NATO member states that will be kicked out of NATO. Just give it a 3 to 5, maximum 7 years from now, and Turkey probably will be kicked out of NATO or forced to leave NATO on its own, right? And I think Turkey situation in around Turkey is such that trajectory is clear. Trajectory is towards the war with Israel and with number of European NATO member states, and I'm not just talking about Greece, by the way. I'm talking about France. I'm talking about Italy. I'm talking about number of other European NATO member states that will be in an anti-Turkish coalition, right? And so Turkey now gonna invest potentially billions of dollars, build aircraft carrier, and then what? It's I'm not sure it's a good investment, really. I'm not sure it's a good investment, but you never know, man. You never know how you're gonna hide aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean. And do you really need an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean? When with the modern technologies, you can launch drones, for example, from Turkey, strike drones, and take out some target in northern France if you want to. I don't know, but work is there. Work is there. Turkey is investing in an aircraft carrier strike group. Let's see what will come out of it. Actually, RIA Novosti is also reporting that Stammer will step down. Allegedly, that's the reports. Stammer will step down as a British Prime Minister at his own request. Media, according to media, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will resign on his own accord, writes Daily Mail columnist Dan Hodges, citing government sources. Keir Starmer has told his close friends that he intends to step down as a Prime Minister. The article says, according to Hodges' sources, the Prime Minister understands the political situation in the country, but wants to leave office with dignity. Does he have dignity, Keir Starmer? Such a scumbag, man. Come on. When this scum of humanity begins talking about morality and humanity and dignity and decency, it's so appalling, isn't it? So appalling, man. I can understand with someone with actual moral authority, someone with their actual respect of majority, right? Talks about dignity and decency and stuff like that. It's okay, it's good, right? But when absolutely disgusting creatures like Stammer and Merz and Macron and that kind of garbage talks about dignity, man, it's appalling. It's I can't take it, man. It's too bad, right? Meanwhile, well, UK, it's not just political crisis that UK is facing, but also crisis of social fabric, if I may say this way, which is stretched beyond their limits. And yesterday, for example, in UK, in London, there was separate demonstrations, massive demonstrations, in which, according to different reports, tens of thousands of people participated, even hundreds of thousands, right? And there were these separate demonstrations, not necessarily were on the same page. One is let's call it a more liberal winger of demonstrators. Another one more conservative that is very much focused on restrictions on migration and stuff like that. And yeah, even though there was some arrests, I don't think there was a clashes between the sides, right? Which is good. At least they did not smash entire London. Let me give you details how RIA Novosti reports about it. Hundreds of thousands of protesters took the streets in London to protest British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's domestic policies. That's one meeting. Protesters marched to Downing Street, where the Prime Minister's office is located. They chanted slogans criticizing the immigration policy and restrictions on their free speech. Participants then began a rally outside the Parliament building. Thousands of police officers with their cars and their paddy wagons were deployed for their protests. The march organizer, right-wing anti-Islam activist Tommy Robinson, called on Britons to the day before to ignore threats and their intimidation from their authorities. Downing Street previously announced that on Saturday, police would carry out their biggest public order operation in recent years, involving thousands of security forces, helicopters, drones, and armored vehicles. There was also a counter protest by left wing and Islamic activists gathering in another part of London. They oppose immigration restrictions and believe their country should accept refugees. Uh, and there was no clashes between these two groups, so that's good. And lately, by the way, I read so much negative stuff about this Tommy Robinson, right? That I don't think he's a good human being, man. Really, no. Previously, I didn't really know much. I don't really pay much attention to British internal politics and stuff. Why should I care that much, right? But lately, every now and then, I come up with some article about situation in Britain and this Tommy Robinson. And yes, he was arrested a couple of times for some stuff. One might argue how lawful that was or not. Was it a breach of freedom of speech or not? No, or and many other things. But I think he's actually Islamophobe. He's actually Islamophobic. You know, he hates Muslims. I think all Muslims. He's a racist, man. One thing is to want. One thing is to be in support of stricter control on the borders, right? One thing is to want to preserve the culture, history, traditions, and therefore build institutions in the place, infrastructure, so that when new migrants come, and migration is a constant process, right? Humanity is quite fluid in this regard. People were always moving around the planet and will continue to do so, right? No matter what. That's what humanity does. And so one thing is to be in support of creating this infrastructure so that new migrants, when they come, and they will come, will integrate easily, right? And appreciate this local history, culture, and become a part of it, right? Other thing is to be just extremely hateful towards all migrants and say all of them are like bad. And let's isolate ourselves from everybody. No, it is not okay, man. And there are not such a group of people, ethnic group of people, or religious group of people that are all bad. It's not possible, right? Bad people are in all ethnic and religious groups, but no religious or the ethnic group is bad. And so I think Robinson does not understands this, right? This is just basics, actually, right? And I think he is a freaking racist, man. Actual racist, full of hate. And unfortunately, people like him will exploit honest anger and disappointment of British public, and will push society as far right towards the extreme positions as possible. And that's probably what is happening in UK too, and what will continue to happen until they will have some proper government, right? That will do right things, and then take away these powers from these extremists, either on the left or on the right, right? And there are extremists on both sides, isn't it? And there was past Friday. There was also protests, by the way, quite significant ones in Belgium. And you guess what people were protesting there in Belgium? They were protesting rising of retirement age up to 67 years. It's crazy, man. Soon, probably retiring age will reach, I don't know, 70 years in many European countries. Maybe here too, in Russia, by the way, it's already 65. Putin said I think on numerous occasions that retiring age will not increase up to 65, but he actually increased it up to 65. And I'm afraid this is not their end. They will increase it up to 70 because you see, they don't want, man. They don't want to pay pensions. Elites, elites, they don't want to pay pensions. They want to use countries in ways and budget taxpayers' money in a way they feel fit, in a way that their their clans will benefit, right? And this is the true all over the world, I think, right? And therefore, this process will continue of increase of age, pension age. And don't tell me that no country is going to be able to pay pensions forever because declining in the demography and there is not that many young working people out there. States have a million ways to make money on top of taxes that are coming from working class. Let's not forget about that. State always has enough money to pay pensions and to guarantee elderly decent life, right? And all societies in the world, all states should guarantee decent retirement of elderly because they deserve this, right? They deserve this. And I think everybody who is involved in increase of retiring age is wrong, to say the least, right? And I'm afraid here in Russia they're gonna do the same, man. They're gonna increase retirement age up to 67, 70, up to it's. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it because I'm gonna go full French if I continue, man. That's how positive my thoughts are about so-called elites, man. All I can talk about them is in French. Anyways, a few more. Oh, you know what? It's enough. It's enough. I can see numbers, by the way. At some point, there was like 180 members, 180 members online. Now only 132 on YouTube and 16, 15 даже even on Rumble. So therefore, let me end the new segment on that, dear friends, and let's have a little community chat, if I may. It's already 2.5 hours, for God's sake, man. Of course, people get tired, of course. And therefore, even bigger thank to you all, dear friends, for being here, despite this very longer news segment, let's say. I will scroll now to the top of the chat, and I will search for possible questions to me, and I will try my best to be informative and useful or interesting in my response. Dear friends, as I said, you can use either super chat on Rumble to ask question, or you can send question through PayPal or Boosty. Links are under this video in description box, or you can use capital letters in chat to highlight your question or the commentary, so that I will understand if it's in capital letters or there is capital Q, it's directed to me. So let's go. Let's scroll. Once again, thank you all, dear friends, for your attention and for your support. And let's scroll now. What? Ein. Just a sec, dear friends. Can you see this comment from JS? It's in Russian. Анна, вам нужны модераторы в этом чате. Несколько ботов, израильских ботов, пытаются испортить трансляцию. You see? Well, help me. Help me with the moderation. Thank you very much, JS, for sharing. Thank you. And thank you very much, dear friends. There are some comments that I would not share on the screen, but are very funny. Thank you. Uh, positive, and funny. There was another super chat right now, dear friends, from Scooby. Let's react on it and then continue. Once again, thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and to the donation. Scooby is commenting, global South nations are racing to decouple from fossil fuel dependence now. Trump, via the Iran war, has ironically been boon for the green transition. Well, I agree with you. I agree with you, Scooby, that countries worldwide, not just the global in the global south, but worldwide, have a big incentive now to go for some more reliable sources of energy. Let's say this way, right? It can be green or can be something else, but they have to have alternatives, right? And when it comes to China in particular, well, I don't know why uh, some people, especially in the West, were misinformed about it or did not knew about it. But China is one of the biggest investors in alternative energy, actually. I believe they have from alternative energy more electricity than from nuclear power plants. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, dear friends, but that's how big China is when it comes to investments in solar and wind and hydro and stuff, right? And this is an intentional push of China to reach as little dependence, to reach the point when they will be as little dependent on fossil fuels as possible, especially oil, especially oil. Same time as China is investing big in alternative energy, let's be real, they also are investing big in coal, right? There is thousands of coal plants all over the China, and those coal plants not gonna disappear anytime soon, of course. But what this increase in alternative production of electricity is means that China is little bit, little by little, step by step, but is decreasing its dependence on foreign energy supplies, right? Oil and gas, and this is good. This is good. Hopefully, they will do like twice better, three times better, right? Because it is my fear. It is my fear, sort of, that Western ruling class might succeed and push China to increase its dependence on Russian energy sector up to a critical level. And I don't want that to happen because it's going to be such a risk, man, for both of us, right? For Russia and China to be in that place, right? So we have to avoid that as much as possible. And one way how this can be done is this big, massive push by China uh, towards these renewables, right? Towards alternative energy sources. And of course, Trump's war on Iran uh, make it even more clear for everybody, or should make it more clear for everybody that um, alternative energy sources should be priority, right? And I'm not necessarily talking about wind power or solar power. I'm not big believer of in either of that, right? They when let's say humanity will be able to send their massive or deploy massive satellite farms in space that will stretch on hundreds of square kilometers, then okay, I will say that we can now use sun energy, right? We can take sun energy and then transfer through lasers or whichever way on Earth to generate, let's say, electricity. At that point, I will say yes, sun energy is significant. But now with this solar, some stuff, it's a joke, man. China is investing big in that too, but I think this is a. I'm not a big believer on that. Let me say this way. Maybe it's good, but for environment, I'm not quite sure which is more harmful. These solar panels that are mostly produced from freaking oil, and it's mostly plastic, or significant volume of it is plastic, and cannot even be re- reward, right? It's pollution from the solar panels might be much higher than from, I don't know, man, combined pollution, combined negative, net negative can be even higher than freaking, I don't know, coal plant, man. So therefore, I'm not big believer on wind and solar right now. In the future, when we will deploy this, we'll be able to deploy these massive farms in space. Yeah, that will be good. But now, but nevertheless, it's something. It's still something, right? So what Iran war teached everybody is to not be dependent on one supply chain, to have alternative supply chains, right? And go hydro. I think hydro plants are definitely very expensive, of course, but nevertheless very reliable, because as long as you are in a region where there is a lot of snow, rain, when there is a lot of rivers, and you can use this natural flow to generate electricity. I mean, what can be better, right? And China is big on that. Biggest dams, by the way, this Three Gorges Dam and many others. Chinese are building big, so much so that they are slowing down planet itself. You know that's good, isn't it? When this Three Gorges Dam was created, when water was filled in a reservoir, allegedly it slowed down by some fraction, little fraction, but nevertheless, man, Chinese did it by building freaking uh, dam. So so yes, I mean many countries will learn lessons, of course, and will diversify their energy flows. That's for sure. That's for sure. Thank you, Scooby, once again. And let's scroll. I will scroll fast, dear friends. This live stream is already 2.5 hours, so I will scroll faster. In case I miss your question, my apologies for that. Let's see. I see a question. You see capital letters? I spotted. Sashimi Kudo is commenting, asking how safe is Russia? Russia is a big country. How many other Kushchovskaya massacres are needed, covered up? Ritter spoke about his friend in Novosibirsk who is locked up on false charges and tortured. Russia is safe, though. I don't know what are you talking about. How many massacres are needed or covered up? Nothing is. I don't think what you are calling massacre. That's also a question. And Russia is safe. Russia is safe, by the way. Is there crime? Yes, it is a crime. Is it is the case in any country, right? And there are criminals in Russia too, criminals, and policies exist, and police is trying to deal with the criminals. But in general terms, Russia is a safe country, very safe, I will argue, right? Of course, there is different regions, there is a different levels of safety in different. This is the biggest country in this world, right? And you might find some, I don't know, some village somewhere where maybe there is not even a police station or something, right? But Russia is safe, and I don't know what Scott Ritter says about his friend in Novosibirsk being tortured. I mean, is there some crimes committed by law enforcement officers? Quite sure about. Is there law enforcement agencies anywhere in this world that are 100% pure and they have no one in their ranks that ever committed crime? I don't think so, right? These are massive institutions that have tens of thousands of people in, as a staff. So among tens of thousands of people, there are always, unfortunately, always going to be someone or even group of people that will commit crimes, or maybe they will torture people too. But is that an indicator that this is that's just case all over the Russia? No. There are some incidents also in US, right? You just check on YouTube when someone is arrested and then policemen are beating that someone up in a cell. Is it a, if you will say that's exactly what is happening all over the US, I will say I don't think so, because I truly don't. I don't think US police officers are torturing and beating and killing everybody they arrest, right? So let's be objective on the matter. Is there some issues that Russia is facing? Of course, but is Russia moving forward, achieving progress in all the directions that your question is inclined? Yes, true. Yes. And is Russia safe? Answer is also yes. So that's how it is. Nidish Kumar is also commenting. Levan, did you find out where those cargo ships are escorted to do things after delivery? They will stay in India as a Relos Pactor is activated. No, I don't. I spoke about these vessels, isn't it? I don't know where these vessels are. I mentioned that flotilla like a few minutes ago, but I don't know where are they. Maybe they will. I just don't know. Maybe they are linked to Iran. Maybe they are linked to Africa, African core of Russia. Or maybe they are delivering some weapons to India, Nidish, actually. Maybe they are delivering some weapons to India, fulfilling some contracts that are between our countries. Also can be case. But I just don't know. I just don't know. I did not see no information nowhere about this flotilla here in Russian segment, at least, right? So maybe in upcoming days, some Asian media outlet will find out something. Maybe this flotilla will be spotted somewhere, right? And some video or photo will emerge, and we will have an understanding of its location. But either way, already like 5 days passed since flotilla is moving, 5-6 days, right? So soon they gonna be some information gonna surface about its location. Levan, does any news about cancer drugs under trials? Suddenly we don't hear much about it. Well, there was trials began, isn't it? There was a lot of earlier. There was a lot of reports about this vaccine that Russia is developing. If you mean vaccines, Nidish, there was reports about vaccines, and I think it's on a human trial stage right now. That drug, and after trials will be finalized, probably decision, some information will be released to public. But first, they themselves have to make sure that this drug is actually what they say it is, right? It's because it's a serious topic. You don't want to mess this up, isn't it? So I think like maybe months ago, maybe months ago, I come up with an article about beginning of the human trials, if I remember correctly. But as you rightfully noticed, there is very little information in the public right now about it. While in the past years, there was regular reports on the matter. So I think everybody is waiting for trials, and then probably we will learn some more. Also, Nidish is commenting, Luan, don't you think removing uranium will stop them? I don't think so. It will be foolish thing to do by Iran, as their public feels like they lost self-respect. Eventually, demise of IRGC. No, it depends how you propose it. It depends how you uh, share information with the public. It's a clever move. It's a clever move on Iranian side if they remove enriched uranium. It's a freaking clever move. Strategically speaking, it's a checkmate. It will be checkmate for the Western ruling class and the Zionists, right? Because their only talking point they have is enriched uranium, right? And because they control media and the narratives in the West, no one is challenging them. No one is telling them that Iran enriched uranium up to 60%, not to build the nukes, but to join the club of countries with the latent nuclear deterrent, countries that can build nukes but are choosing not to, right? But this was not explained to the public in the West, isn't it? So therefore, they continue, Western ruling class and their puppets, and the Zionists and their puppets continue to speculate with this matter of enriched uranium and justify this aggression against Iran with that topic. And so on behalf of Iran, that will be a clever freaking move to get rid of this enriched uranium because they don't need this, right? They have knowledge. If sometime in the future they will decide to build a nuke, let's say, they have knowledge. They don't need this freaking enriched uranium anyways. They can enrich new portion, right? They have knowledge. You can destroy centrifuges, you can destroy entire nuclear infrastructure, but as long as you have an entire generation and generation of people that have expertise, you can rebuild everything, right? But right now, enriched uranium is an issue that Iran has to deal with, right? And they will, if they will give it to Americans, yes, that will be seen by some in Iran as a maybe too much of a compromise. But if Iran and Moscow, if Tehran and Moscow have agreement, and this uranium comes to Russia and will be transferred to Iran under Tehran's request, and of course that will be the deal, right? We will just store this uranium. It's still Iranian stuff. So if that is the case, I think that will be checkmate for the Western ruling class. Iran will just checkmate them because what they gonna say? How they gonna justify this war when there is no longer uranium there? You see? So I have to disagree with you, Nidish. I think this would be, I mean, a strategic move on their behalf. Excuse me, on behalf of Iran. They will kill only talking point Western ruling class has, and I don't think everybody will see it or see this transfer of uranium from Iran to Russia as a defeat of Iran. I mean, there is no how it's related even. It's like, no, I see no ways how you're going to interpret that like that. It's I don't know. It's going to be checkmate for the Western ruling class. And let's scroll. Nitish is also commenting, Levan, you are being naive. They will ask her no missile program next. Oh, they will ask for that. Israel is demanding it anyways, right? But you cannot justify. You see, American ruling class, Western ruling class is unfortunately through propaganda means are managing sort of to justify attacks on Iran because you see Trump's only talking point is Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. So once Iran will checkmate Western ruling class, if they will actually go for transferring this uranium to Russia, what Trump gonna say? Iran cannot have ballistic missiles. Iran cannot have ballistic missiles. People would not give a damn about Iran's ballistic missiles, honestly, man. No one, right? Even hardcore, even hardcore Trump supporters will say, you know what? Enough is enough now. I mean, maybe you will say now Iran cannot have I don't know, anti-tank missiles also and AK or rifles too. I mean, where is their end if you go this way, right? It's a big difference between our missile program, ballistic missile program, and nuclear weapons, right? And now West is pushing this crazy narrative that Iran is building nukes and they cannot have a nukes. Once uranium is removed, of course, they will go after missile program. They will continue with the missile program. And Israel, already said it, isn't it? That, well, it's a nuclear program and a missile program. And initially, even Washington was pushing this nonsense. But then gradually, Washington shifted to nuclear program itself because this ballistic missile program makes no sense whatsoever, right? And no one is buying it. Any country has a right to build their missile program. It's what we are talking about. You know, no one gonna dictate to nobody what kind of missiles you're gonna build, right, for your militaries. I mean, it's nonsense. As long as you have no treaties in place. Due to treaties, Russia didn't have, for example, medium range missiles, right? But after US destroy all the treaties that were in place about arms controls, right, and strategic arms controls, now Russia has a medium range missiles. Yes, I understand what you are talking about, Nidish. Nidish is also commenting, Levan, they will ask Iran ballistic missiles must not exceed 500-kilometer range. Of course they will. Attempts already are in this regard, right? Already talks are beginning about it, but the point is that no one is buying it, right? Just no one cares. No one cares, and to sustain U.S. military presence in the region, to justify this presence, this topic of Iran's ballistic missiles would not work. That's all I'm saying. They will struggle to sell this topic to public in the West, right? In US or in Europe or elsewhere for that matter. That's what I'm saying. They will, of course, try to use this topic, but it would not work. Nuclear weapons are a bit different. It's a scary, right? It's much more scary. Oh, nuclear weapons. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Or if they have nuclear weapons, they will go after everybody. They will destroy the entire world. You see the rhetoric that is coming from Washington? When it comes to ballistic missiles, I mean, it's just the ballistic missiles, man. It's no big deal. Even most powerful conventional warhead is just some minor inconvenience in a full-scale war, right? Because there's so many other weapons that are flying in and out. So, but I understand what you are talking about, for sure. But I think if they are left just with that talking point, that Iran cannot have missiles, ballistic missiles, or missiles with more than 500-kilometer range, oh, they will struggle to sell that story, man. They will struggle to justify anything with that, I think. While with their nuclear weapons topic, you see they are still managing to stay afloat. And right now there was a super chat, dear friends, from Scooby on Rumble. Let me highlight this super chat and I will end this live stream on that, dear friends. Thank you very much, Scooby, once again for your super chat and $2 donation on Rumble. And Scooby is commenting Iran war triggers a global inflation from President persistent supply shock. USA exports inflation and China exports deflation. Who comes out better? Well, you see what Chinese leader hinted during their. I mean, he told this to Trump directly, right? That he hinted. He did not say literally with these words, but he hinted that U.S. is a declining power, China is a rising power, and I think Xi Jinping was on point there. He was on point there, and U.S. is exporting not just inflation, but U.S. is exporting death and destruction. West, collective West, by the way, under the current leadership, under the ruling class that exists in the West, they are exporting death and destruction, literally, and misery, absence of hope. That's what Western is beginning to be affiliated with. Unfortunately. While when it comes to China, there are no bad feelings really towards China. Maybe there is no big fan club of China too, but at least there is no these negative feelings towards China. There is very different points, isn't it? When you are neutral towards certain entity and when clearly despise another entity because of all the negativity that comes from that side, right? And unfortunately, under the current ruling class, Western world, there did become this exporter of death and destruction on industrial scale, really, which is horrifying. But yeah, that's true, isn't it? That's how the world sees. It's not just me, but that's how the world sees it. And I think your commentary, your question there, Scooby, is also somewhat implies that Western world unfortunately become exporter of negativity, inflation, and so much worse things that inflation. When it comes to inflation itself, I think we are heading, whole world, by the way, is heading towards a hike in inflation, obviously, because this crisis, unfortunately, in the Middle East is going to continue for a very long time. And until global economy will reach, will begin stagnating, until that point, probably inflation will be on the rise. It's already happening, isn't it? It's already beginning. So thank you very much, Scooby. And I think that's what's going to happen, actually. This crisis in the Middle East will trigger global economy to descend to recession, right? And that recession will then bring down demand on energy, oil and gas, and all the other commodities, right? And that will cool down prices too. So inflation at that point, inflation will no longer be on the rise, but under what cost? Global decline of global economy will have impact on the world, on economies of countries worldwide in so many ways that eventually, harm might be even greater than inflation on its own. But this is, of course, topic for experts in finances and stuff. Let them explain to us what should we expect, really. Thank you very much, Scooby, once again, for your super chat and the donation. And there one more question, dear friends. I see from Nidish Kumar. Did African Corp control of Mali Becker? Not the northern parts of Mali. I think our situation, generally speaking, is under control now. And this initial massive assault on Mali failed, right? and government forces with assistance of African Corp of Russian Federation did stabilize the situation, but Kidal, for example, one of the major cities in the north, is still controlled by terrorists. Dozens of other smaller settlements still controlled by terrorists. Therefore, it is too early to say that full control was established over the Mali. Although I don't think government forces ever had the full control over the Mali. It's a big, massive country, and I mean, I'm honestly don't not sure if anybody ever had the full control over this vast land, right? But until Kidal is under control of government forces, probably it will be too early to say that government is in charge again now. But situation has been stabilized for sure, and Syria's scenario did not happen. Many did expect it, isn't it? That Syria's scenario will play out and Mali will completely collapse. It did not. It did not. Government of Mali did not run nowhere. Leader of Mali did not run nowhere. They are standing there. They are fighting. Officials, by the way, are, according to reports that they see, some officials are taking machine guns and going to fight these terrorists. So very different situations compared to Syria, right? So that's why nowadays there is a more and more confidence that government forces with assistance of African Corp of Russia will actually manage to reestablish full control as much as possible over the entire country. But first and foremost, of course, Kidal has to be liberated from the terrorists. And I think work is being done in this direction. I expect Kidal to be liberated in short time, actually. And dear friends, this is it for now. Thank you all for being on today's live stream. Annie, I want to share with you approximate, I can't remember now, but Anne, can you tell me approximately, today was a fundraising too, isn't it? So approximate. Okay, so during the fundraising, project got about $55 as a support from you, dear friends, from community, and thank you very much for this. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day, and take care. See you tomorrow.